Recording is in progress, I guess. Benjamin, we had a little talk almost a year ago, I think. That was way before you guys really took off. And I've seen a few people, Robert, for example, joining you guys, showing you showing him around. And yeah, I'm happy that you now finally said, you know what, let's have a talk. Let's sit together and let's sit down and then talk a little bit. So happy to have you.
Yeah, it wasn't me necessarily. It was my employees telling me I need to do more like public speaking stuff. So, so then I feel like I need to start doing stuff like podcasts because yeah, we need to like fundraise and get the story out a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I mean, the story is, I mean, everyone who's in that robotic niche and that I think is very hyped anyways. But maybe you give us a short intro for those who have been living under the rock, and then yeah, we dive a little bit into the past, and then see what you guys are doing today.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so Kscale is a company that I started about a year and a half ago. We did YC Winter 24, and then raised a little bit of money after that, and have just kind of been continuing to make progress, um, building open source, low cost humanoid robots. So I used to work at Tesla on the Autopilot team around when Optimus was getting started. I've been in and around AI research for most of my career. I started at FAIR on speech research, but didn't really like speech as much, and moved over into FSD, and then later into robotics. Um, but yeah, my general feeling when I was at Tesla was that it was like, pretty clear that when Elon wants to do something, there's a lot of people that will like put money into that. And so once he started doing Optimus, it was pretty clear that there was going to be a lot of interest in the humanoid robot space. And in particular, I think that like there was a lot of interest in just kind of bad ideas in the humanoid robot space, is my general feeling. Basically, I felt like, at Tesla, we started working on humanoids for, Tesla automation. This is like basically Tesla as its own customer for the humanoids, which, while it maybe makes sense from a financial perspective, is pretty poor decision from a machine learning perspective. And I was working on machine learning. Um, so I felt like, this was, but, if Elon does something and everyone copies it, so then suddenly there was a dozen companies building humanoids for industrial applications, very expensive humanoids. Broadly, the strategy, I think, on the tech side was also to go and like, raise money and then buy engineers from a company that had been doing humanoids, 10 years ago. And, Boston Dynamics Foundation bought like Boardwalk Robotics, um, you know, and then sort of ship, one of those humanoids, but like today. But the problem is if you do that, then you are shipping a $100,000 humanoid, which is designed for classical control, and that just isn't very exciting to me. Even Tesla, I mean, I think there was the dream of the $20,000 humanoid, that kind of got blown up, and the bomb got blown up to like, over $100,000, and it was just like they made all these weird decisions with like lead screws and the knees and the ankles, and it was just kind of a nightmare. So yeah, anyway, I was watching what was happening. I was kind of just noodling on, what do I want to do in this space? Because I was like interested in humanoids and robotics. After I left Tesla, I went back to Fair. I was working on robotic stuff. It was like pretty obvious that if I wanted to do anything really impactful in robotics, I would need to actually build the robot myself. I wasn't gonna be able to really wait around for someone else to build a good robot. Um, in the context of that, I needed to start a startup because building a robot is like capital intensive thing. I need to go raise money for it. I'm not a natural salesman, so I felt like the only way to really um, get a startup off the ground was going to be to like just do it and then convince people that I could keep doing it and they give me more money. So I started with the 3D printed robot. Well, basically like I got into YC just like with this general idea that I want to build a humanoid. Um, and they just accepted me for some reason. And so I was like, oh crap, now I got to build a humanoid. How do I do it? hired Matt to come in and help me with it. He was a mechanical engineering friend of a friend from someone from New York. Um, and yeah, we just kind of just went and catted up a humanoid. It stood. I mean, we did it in like 2 months. It was very fast, but it was like as fast as we could. All these off-the-shelf parts from Alibaba and Amazon. Like I was literally soldering like for 10 hours one day to like get all the wires like in the right shape ahead of like when we could actually um show it off. So that's why the very first launch it would just stay stood up. It didn't do anything. It could wave in theory, but I didn't want to wave at the same time it was standing up because it would probably fall over. But I was
Mm,
like, I just need to like get something that stood up and like looked cool. So then I could go raise money at like as cheaply as possible because I was funding it most myself before YC and then YC like they gave me some money for it. But it's not a ton of money. So that first one we probably spent like in total about 20K getting it the 30K maybe getting it to like be ready. Actually, I think most of the costs for the early days were both like the rent of the place and then paying Matt's salary. I haven't taken a salary at Kscale, but like yeah, the actual cost of building the hardware was very low. So we were just like we need to get something out the door as cheaply as possible. And yeah, I mean, it kind of worked. I mean, actually, after we launched it, the real break was getting Robert Scoble to come cover us. Like him coming and covering us was just amazing. I'm so grateful that he did, because we wouldn't have been able to raise money otherwise. I think, or we raised some money. It wasn't like a ton of money still, but we raised some money. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's just really cool. So then after that, like, I was like, well. What I want to build and what I think the world wants is like sub 10K robot that can do your laundry, clean your dishes, like do everything around your house. And it's like a really hard problem, and it's something I could probably spend the next 5 years of my life building. But if I do build it, it's probably going to be a really great company. Like a lot of people buy it. It's a pretty hard thing to replicate, like good mode. So that was the plan basically, is like I just want to build, I want to build that thing. Um, and I think that everyone in Silicon Valley is kind of idiots. They're all building these $100,000, things, and like it's clear today that the only robot that anyone actually wants to buy is like the Unitree G1 and maybe the booster robot. Like you go to RSS or IROS, like no one has any other robot. No one's got like figure robots or Apptronic robots there. It's like the robot people want is basically that one. No one in the US is building it right now, and I'm pretty sure I could figure out how to build something pretty similar. That was the general idea. I also just like I went to China. I met with like a lot of suppliers and just like yeah, met with people. And yeah, no, and then we built KBot. KBot is much simpler even than the G1 because we just try to like make
wait,
it.
wait, wait, wait.
Um,
You're rushing through.
sorry,
No, no, it's all right.
sorry.
It's all right. I like the
Yeah.
flow. I like that you're totally into it. And I don't want to go all the way back, but for me, what's always very interesting I mean, because you're so into it, I think maybe it comes for you or to you very naturally, but all the steps in between, there's a lot of decision need to be made. There's a lot of braveness and balls you need to have, a lot of guts to say, I'm gonna do this, I gonna hire someone, I gonna leave the career at Tesla. Uh, this is not for me, right? Because it was there for you.
Mm.
But so always trying to decipher in this podcast. So what? How is it when it comes to these kind of situations? Is that something that uh, comes easy to you, or as I imagine or assume, this is something that there is a lot of struggle, right? There's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of long nights. You were just saying 10 hours soldering some cable, some. How do you get there? So this is what I'm always trying to understand in this podcast. How do you become this kind of person, right? So this now gets a little bit more personal, and here talk as much as you like and be as free. Is that something that somebody taught you, or your parents injected in you, or fostered? Is that something that is something you're always surprised on your own, or something that you've been surrounded with when you grew
Mm.
up?
Oh yeah, I should say actually the 10-hour soldering thing. the day before the Robert Scoble interview, I slept for like 30 minutes. I was literally up like up right until like the we like did the open house thing. It was yeah, it was pretty rough. Yeah, I got 30 minutes of sleep. Matt got 3 hours of sleep. Because I was just finishing all these wiring bullshit. But yeah, I mean, I would say frankly, my personally, I think I just have a pretty high awareness of my own mortality and just a general sense that I will probably die. I mean, I have a pretty limited time on Earth. And so given that that's the case, what do I want to spend time doing? It also, I think it's a good clarifying thing to be able to say like, well, none of like whatever other people say about the company or about me, it really matters. So I'm just gonna go do what I think I believe in and then kind of it doesn't really matter how hard it is. Like yeah, like basically like in a this is get a little philosophical, but like I think in a way like I have the sense that time is short and everything was sort of transient, and if you operate on that perspective, then it fortunately it means like the good news is that it means that like it doesn't really matter how hard you work. Like that's just like you can just work hard for yourself. Like so that's kind of doesn't matter anyway. So I'm just gonna go work really hard on the things that I care about, and it's just fun for me. Um, I don't know. So yeah, before I was in a weird spot. Like actually before I started Kscale, I left Meta like in May of 2023. Oh my God. Last time I made money. So uh yeah. But I left Meta to start a different startup with it was working on some speech stuff based off of a paper that I wrote before. It was a B2B SaaS idea. We were doing like voice changing for Indian call centers. Probably would have been a good startup. I just didn't really find myself waking up every day super excited to do it. Um, it was also just not the right thing, I think, for attracting people that were really going to also give 100% to what I wanted to build. And that I think is the most important thing about a startup. Like Kscale would just be me in a garage if I also if I like if no one here would actually believe in this thing needed to get built, then why would like it would just be me by myself. I mean, yeah, I think you've interviewed a few people. Matt, Kelsey Poole, the Zbot, she was on she did the Zbot. She just was here. Yeah, Robert's been around, like my friend Haru. I don't know, like people just kind of come and do stuff with me, I think, because it's a really cool thing that needs to get built. And yeah, so that's kind of that was like my wake up when I was doing this other startup that I was like, well, I just want to go build things that I personally believe in and that I think the world believes need to get built, even if they're like hard and risky. Um, yeah. I don't have any particularly like unusual background. My mom's a teacher. My dad like has worked in few different jobs. He spent a lot of time working in like administration stuff at one of our hospitals and where I grew up. But yeah, I don't know. They're not. It was pretty middle class. I think my first job I like made more money than both of them, which was pretty cool. I don't know. I was like. Oh, okay, that felt cool for me, but yeah, working in tech is such a weird. I had a very surreal experience after I left college, and I got my first sort of job in tech, and I was like just seeing how much money you could make, and I was like, holy crap, like tech people must, work super hard. And then I went to intern at Google and everyone was working like from like 10 a.m. to like 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. And I was like, well, this is like really like, it just, I guess it just strikes me as like a huge wasted opportunity is like if you get to go do something really cool, you're getting paid really well. There's a ton of resources being put onto you to like build something that's create like just, you know, you're really like giving up a huge opportunity if you don't work hard, is my perspective on it. And so like when, I ended up going into like AI research and I was literally working on these like billion-dollar clusters. I get to do research with these billion-dollar clusters. And I was like, how could you not like just throw yourself into taking the most advantage of that opportunity? Just doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah.
I think the one of the problems that has been well spoken here in Europe, especially in Germany, so you have these car companies, automotive, that have been around for 100 years. So there was a lot of entrepreneurship, a lot of like real invention, innovative thoughts that came out of it, right? And over the time, you build these huge companies, and you get better and better and better, but only like very little better because you're so high in the quality over decades. The accumulated knowledge and innovation over decades then makes specialized positions, right? And in a startup, I think you do, I mean, you're building a startup yourself, so you do need to do a lot of things at once. And but as things grow bigger and faster, then you do need people that are able to handle that just one tiny thing, right? So I think it's a almost natural evolution. So Google is not a startup anymore. I mean, it has been around for 20 years plus. So I think it's also the you don't want to break what you built over the years, right? So you give everyone just a little piece on it to work. So I think it's this is the reason why those big companies are struggling with innovation and startups like you, 5 people working in a garage or working in a little flat or in a little house. Everyone is working 10 hours, 12 hours. There's no limitation, and as you said, everyone is really invested in what they do. So I think this is the huge difference when it comes to speed. Yeah, thanks for giving that
Yeah.
insight.
I think it's a little bit like weirdly look like communist. Like Silicon Valley startups, I think are a little like it's like a microcosm of like communism where everyone at the startup owns some large part of the startup. Like early startups are basically kind of like a commune. And that's why people work so hard, I think, is like you literally own part of the thing. And if it goes really, really well, then you'll make a lot of money. Um I think that like I also have this kind of nostalgic view for the early days of the American auto industry back in like Detroit, like when Ford and GM were like, kind of getting started, there was a lot of like innovation and like startup energy in Detroit. And then it kind of like just collapsed and got consolidated as well. Um, and I think that basically like the thing that I really like the basic thing is like I think competition is a very good thing. I really don't think that like if startups are allowed to compete, like I really think that they're generally more competitive and every now and then startups are able to like do better. Like if you think about me, I think Kscale is going to compete with Tesla. It's an uphill battle. I don't have as much money, you don't have as much resources, but like I literally was at Tesla, so I should know something about how to compete with Tesla. It's the same thing with like if you're, auto worker at Volkswagen or something. Like if you work at Volkswagen for a few years, you know what Volkswagen's from the inside. You should be able to go start a company and like compete with Volkswagen. But if there's like a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. It's, very hard, I think, for one. It's, like an uphill battle, but like I don't know. I really think that like at least like structurally it's a better thing for countries to like set up like fair systems for competition. Like all you need is a level playing field. I think if there's a level playing field, I think that it should be possible for startups to compete. And then if you have enough people that have this belief that they can go and do that thing or like sort of desire to do that thing because you want to be like, and like in my case, I think I guess when I was at Tesla, I was like, my skip manager was Elon, so I saw Elon a lot. Like I was reporting to Andre Karpathy, and then Andre reported to Elon. So I was like, Elon, he's just like a guy, like he's just like a kind of dorky, like middle-aged guy. So like, there's nothing really that special about him. I could probably do that, but anyway, I guess it's like an unusual thing to believe, but like because there's a lot of like mythos around these types of people, but like I don't know, like at least I like to try, you know, why not?
I mean,
I think you need people that want to try that.
I mean, this is the reason why I earlier was interrupting you and say, let's go back a little bit because um, very often this and yeah, everyone boils with water, right? Everyone is just human, and having this mindset and being able to see behind all those masks and understanding like there is nothing special about this person, right? Might have a little bit more money, might have a little bit more network and resources and whatsoever, but it's not specific something I cannot do. And so this is the reason why I have also this podcast so people can understand, and this is the reason why I'm so interested in you how do you get this confidence from? Because seeing that and realizing that there's a huge difference. And for you, it doesn't seem that big, but there's tons and tons and tons of people working for this guy, right? And everyone is putting in on a, I mean, no matter what he's doing at the moment, but like in general, so putting him on a pedestal, right? And saying, oh, like this guy can build these kind of companies, but in the very end, these companies have been built by people. So seeing this guy and you deciding, and for the majority of people, that would be how do you say this in English? Blasphemy. So how could you even believe that you are someone like him? But actually believe in, okay, no, if this guy can do it, I can do it. This is something I think this is one of the greatest things ever. So inspiring people or having the guts to, you know what, it can't be that hard. So, but in my opinion, this is not like being too sure of yourself or thinking too big. This is just like nice having this kind of confidence and realizing in the very end it is just that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's confidence or so much as like it seems like a big opportunity. Like I feel like Tesla really dropped the ball on Optimus, and I was like, well, I could probably take advantage of that fact and feels like there was a pretty clear path to do it. And if I can do it, I can make a ton of money. Um,
What do you
I
mean
don't know.
by
I
drop the
guess
ball?
like I mean, Unitree is already shipping a ton of robots. There's like no reason why Tesla couldn't just build a similar robot to Unitree. It's just that they have not done it, and I think the Optimus is very far away from shipping, frankly. It's like there's like I think that realistically, the first time you'll have an Optimus in your house will be a few years from now, if that even happens. So
Is
it's
that
like, I
so?
mean, I would definitely say so. I mean, even, I don't know about the whole shakeup with Milan, but it's like just the way they designed it and the cost. It's a very expensive robot. It costs, over 30K, 40K. I don't know what the price will be if they do ship it. The supply chain is, I mean, I know like a lot of Tesla suppliers like and I know like they just made bad decisions. Like frankly speaking, and the thing is like with these kind of decisions, like my experience at Tesla was like these decisions are unusually like motivated by Elon. They're either Elon make a lot of the technical decisions himself on kind of core features, or he will like delegate these to people with sort of unusual like requirements. And and so like I think it just ends up with a robot that is not very principled, especially from the perspective of like the thing you care about is building a very good machine learning experience into a robot. So if that's what you care about, I think you would design the robot very differently. That's kind of my feeling is like our robot, the Kbot, is like designed for building really good machine learning experiences because that's what I did most of my career. Um, I don't know. I have a lot of stories about Tesla, but it's like it's not unusual to think this. But it is like I just saw it happen. Like we would be working on some component of the self-driving stack, and Elon would have some sort of we go into like a meeting with Elon, and he would just come up with he would say some like stupid bullshit for 30 minutes and everyone would have to like nod and be like, yeah, wow, so smart, so good. Yeah. And then let's go do that. And then we would like walk out of the meeting and like no one would do it because we just like they're very sycophantic. So I don't know. I mean, like, so in that case, like, okay, he's not God. I guess I realized that I was a huge Elon fan before going to Tesla, but I was a bigger fan of Andre personally. Andre was my hero, and he was the reason I went to Tesla. I liked Elon making rockets, but then after I went there, I realized like, yeah, Elon he just makes a lot of weird decisions. What he's really good at is getting people inspired to build something really cool, and he builds a really good engineering culture. Like Tesla was the most fun place I've ever worked. I've tried to replicate a lot of that with how we work at Kscale, but like. Other than that, I mean, his technical decisions are, I think, not that good. I'm pretty sure I could make better technical decisions. And, I mean, like, we'll just get a product out the door and see how it goes. I mean, I'm not, it's not, I'm not going to like say that I'm like owed anything. I'll just prove it. It's like, but in that sense, like, I don't know. Yeah, he's just some guy. I don't know if this is like an American thing. I heard from some VC person one time that like going to like, an Ivy League school or something. The reason why so many Ivy League people start startups is not because it gives you this technical skill or anything like that. It's because it gives you this like irrational sense of self-confidence because you go and have classes with all of these, really famous people, like the kids of some, billionaires or something, and you just realize that they're just like some derpy person. I didn't go to an Ivy League school, but I heard that you get the same general sense of confidence just from being an American. So I don't know if that's like that's
Uh,
the case, but
let's not open that box of Pandora, but and I don't
yeah.
want to drive you too much into this, but I mean, there's a few things. We were talking about Elen now. I remember that a few weeks ago I saw Brad actually um, answering one of your tweets, and I think that was
Oh,
pretty funny. So I'm not 100% sure if I'll let you go down this route here too much because I do know that you guys are still in the you're still a rising star, right? So I don't want to give you too much space talking things you afterwards you might like to regret. But it was a very
oh.
interesting conversation. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like there is a lot of companies in the space. Like, yeah, Figure raised a ton of money. In fact, they raised a ton of money before Kscale got started. It wasn't a surprise to me that they had a ton of money. Um, Money doesn't make you have a good product. At like the end of the day, like there is no substitute for like just doing things correctly. And I'm not gonna get in some like Twitter fight with people. I'm just gonna do the thing. Like I don't like I don't really need money to just like go and like start selling robots. Like, and if people want to buy robots from me instead of Brad or whoever, like or Tesla, I mean that's good. I hope they do. I think actually I think right now, just in terms of like raw order volumes, we've sold more robots than Figure, but I don't want to, plagiarize myself. Uh, anyway, but
yeah, yeah. Let's put this aside. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
in I was in Paris last week, the week before that, GDC, Nvidia, and I've been to the office from the Phosphor guys, and I don't know if you know them, and yeah, they
I
do
do.
open source robotics as well, and they sold kits and dev kits and bringing robotics closer to people in software or people in general. And Pierre, who's one of the founders, he also said that small teams have the advantage of being fast, right? Being fast, making decisions, wrong decisions, and then understanding it was a wrong decision, and then correcting the course, right? Fast versus a bigger company. With more layers and more volume and people involved, it's harder to navigate, and so you guys, I remember that because I think, yeah, not I think, I know that I talked to Kelsey before, and that was before your first hackathon. That was last year sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you wanted to continue earlier on your first version of the bot. Maybe you can continue here.
Yeah, I met the Fossil guys back. We were in the same YC batch, actually.
Mm,
They were doing something different back then, and they pivoted into robotics. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I think robotics is like such a greenfield space that it's just really good to have a lot more robotics companies. And yeah, like I think their approach. Everyone, I think there's another few companies in YC, Weave Robotics, Innate. They've done kind of robotics. I think Kscale was kind of one of the earlier ones, but they do like this kind of consumer robot. But the hard challenge to solve as a startup is like if you're a robotic startup is how do you actually get robots out the door before you have a ton of money? Because historically speaking, building hardware is a very expensive thing to try to do. And yeah, it's a problem everyone's solving. I think yeah, Innate I think was sort of pioneered that like start with a very low cost robot, like get it sold and then kind of maybe grow up the chain a little bit. Um, but yeah, our approach is kind of different. I do think that yeah, I absolutely agree. Like smaller teams are able to move faster because like you know like well the problem with robotics too is like like just kind of contrasting those two approaches is like if you're like a figure and you've raised a bunch of money and you go out and get this big contract with like BMW or whoever it is and then you use that thing to like then go raise a bunch more money you have to fulfill the contract. You've kind of tied yourself to this customer. And if that customer is not the right customer for forcing you to get like to build the thing that you want to build, then that's pretty bad. And like for humanoids or robotics in general, there's been a lot of companies that have tried to build general purpose robots like Covariant was a really, they really tried to build this generalist agent and then but they had to raise money. Some they had to like have revenue, they had to raise money, and so they focused on logistics. And what they ended up having with this logistics company customers was customers that wanted them to build logistics robots, not general purpose robots. Kind of makes sense. And I think in Figure's case, BMW is a good example. Like I don't think BMW really wants a humanoid robot. Like at least like the company itself does not need a humanoid robot. They need, someone to, automate some parts of their factory that are difficult to automate. So so now Figure I think is just going to be always fighting with that from just like that tension. It's come because of that was their strategy, like raising money early on. It could be the case that they launch a consumer robot, their consumer business takes off, and they just like throw the BMW partnership in the trash. But I think they just have some uphill battle on this. Whereas like Phospho or like whoever it is, like us or Innate, or some of the other smaller robotic startups, you get the benefit of like you're not as tied to one of those big customers. You can figure out like how do you take advantage of the stuff that's working in the ML space to deliver kind of delightful things and just like a lot more experimentation. I think a lot of startups will probably fail by design, but you'll learn a lot and kind of watch the ecosystem unfold. And like if something does start to work, like you'll be able to take advantage of it right away. So yeah. On top of that, I think like it's really good in my opinion that more software people do hardware. Like I think the Fossil guys were their original idea was on this more software, and then changing the hardware is just very good because like it's like a skill set that I think is missing, especially for entrepreneurs, and having people that are kind of have spent a few years obsessing over how do you build a really good hardware product is just like a net benefit for society. Like because I think yeah, it's like the space is unfolding, and it's like if Kscale goes bankrupt, the next thing that I go do will be informed by having tried to spend 2 years building a consumer electronics product. I know a lot more about how to do that. So I hope Kscale doesn't go bankrupt. But yeah, the tricky thing though, I think right now for a lot of companies like Fosfo or Innate or whoever it is, us to navigate is like how do you go from this 3D printed prototype thing, which and in my opinion, like I don't know, the first Stompy was not something I would want to buy to like a product that people can actually buy and own, which is tremendously difficult. And I think that's where like a lot of the risk is, which is why I've kind of like avoided trying to like raise a ton of money before we've got a lot of people that say they'll buy it from us. Like once we've built something that people say they will buy, I will go out and raise a lot more money to go and sort of deliver that to them. But it's just a huge amount of risk. And I'm not even sure if the risk is justified. So we need to just do all the work before we can just kind of show that. Um, but yeah, like people
No,
love
no,
that
no, wait,
SO
wait, wait,
101
wait.
arm.
So again, this, I mean, it seems for you very natural, but uh, being so um, reflective. So understanding that getting paying customers first will help you in any way. If you want to raise money, no problem because you have validation, right? And if you don't want to raise money, good because you get validation to work on the things that make sense and getting paying customers, right? So and but how so um how do you get there? So this is the reason why I'm interested in the people behind the technology, behind the companies, because I really would like
Mhm.
to decipher and understand, is that something that has been taught to you? Is that something that was through trial and error and coming to this realization? Because it seems obvious for you now, and it is obvious. But for so many people and so many founders, and I talk to a lot of founders, not only on the podcast in general, and they're so excited by the technology, and there's like three PhD people in the room, and then they're telling me about um, some path planning from robots, right? And ask, so who needs that? So and then there's silence
Mhm.
in the room, right? And when I talk to the machine learning engineers, has anybody of you been in the factory? None of them. So even things that seem very obvious are not very obvious. So I'm asking again, what is it that brought you to this stage?
Yeah, I would say I don't think anyone should have like false confidence. I basically think that if you have a bet, a hypothesis, you should definitely test it and try to avoid the psychological kind of pitfalls that like if you have a good idea and you don't put it up, you don't test it against like reality, then that idea is like, and you try to go pursue that idea, it's gonna fail. I mean, in my case, my basic idea was that I think there's a large pool of latent demand for humanoids. This was even before the G1. I felt like I wanted to buy a humanoid, so I at least do it myself. And it's like, well, I had
At least
money. I was
one,
working at
at,
Facebook.
at least one customer, at least one customer.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Like I was like, I emailed the 1X guys before I started Kscale because I wanted to buy a 1X robot before it was like, like, but they didn't respond to me, unfortunately. Maybe if I'd had the opportunity to buy a 1X robot, I wouldn't have started Kscale. But so yeah, I knew there was at least one customer, and I kind of had a general idea of why I wanted to buy a humanoid, and so I expected that that would be something that was true for more people besides myself. And then the Unitree G1 coming out, that really validated that it was something that people wanted to buy. Um, I mean, yeah, like, I think like there's like a lot of nerdy people or people that are academic kind of love to think that everyone just will build something really cool based off of their research and then everyone will love that thing. And that probably is not the case. Like, but that's just I think like all this stuff is like even when I say like oh I want to have Kscale compete with Tesla and I want to compete with Elon that's not like if that were just based off of like my general kind of vibes like Elon sucks so I'm going to go compete with him, that would be a really dumb thing to try to do. Like it's like you shouldn't just go have irrational confidence in yourself. You should go like real confidence comes from like you need to first believe very deeply in what you are saying, and that belief has to come from having done a lot of the work to validate that belief. Like, um, like
Proof.
yeah, you need to like actually test your views against the world before you go and pursue it. Once you have something that you've tested against the world and you know that people will buy it, or you have enough confidence to convince yourself that you'll buy it, and you're not like a irrational person. You know that you can build it and whatever, like, and you know that you can get money to build it, then you should just go and be really confident and just pursue it like a motherfucker because there's only one time to be able to do it. But like I don't know. I think yeah, like you shouldn't just pursue things to pursue them in general. It's probably a bad recipe for heartbreak. You get like a lot of lessons beaten into you that way.
I mean, unless you're prepared for things not paying off. A few weeks ago, or maybe a month or two ago, I had one of the original founders and former CTO of Pollen Robotics, which had been acquired by Hugging Face. So this is Nicholas, and he
I
said
love
that,
pollen.
yeah. So so
Yeah. I was gonna say about pollen. Pollen was actually before I started Kscale, like Pollen putting their CAD models for the Ricci online was a huge inspiration for me. It's just really cool. It's partly why we use Onshape. Yeah, just I was like I love Pollen. I think the company is amazing.
but he said that he and I think his name is Mathieu, so one of the other founders, and they split, and Nicolas built his own company based on they had a community, there was a product already involved, and so he was pursuing that, but they were unable to make a business model out of that. So they had the assumption. So there's a lot of need, obviously, there in the community. So we should make a product out of that, right? Not being part of the core pollen team anymore and doing his own thing, right? And only that after 3 years of a lot of time and sweat and tears, realizing this is not taking off, right? And so
Yeah.
this validation part is sometimes it's not easy to get, right? And to understand, to really get to the core of it. And but so even if you want to do it on purpose, it's not easy, right? But if you're not even aware of that, then it's impossible.
I mean, I think Pollen was probably just a few years too early,
Mm.
frankly. What Pollen should have done is waited for Elon to do a humanoid, and then there's like, tons of money, tons of resources, supply chain's very mature. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like, I think it's like, all startups are probably some component of luck and timing and as much as anything else. And yeah, in our case, even the reason we were able to build a humanoid for very cheaply was because MIT Cheetah actuators got very cheap, and the only reason for that is because the Chinese humanoid ecosystem became more mature, and that became happened because Tesla became very mature, and so yeah, it's a cascade of events, and like there's kind of limited time in which to do certain things. And just think Pollen was a little bit too early. I think also, yeah, Pollen. I don't know that Pollen really moved beyond trying to be a hobbyist product. Um, a similar company that has this problem, I think, is like Hello Robot in the US. They were this fairly popular research robot. Yeah, Chris Paxton. I used to work with Chris at Facebook, and then he went to Hello Robot for a bit. Like, I was hoping he would just tell them that they just really need to figure out how to get the price down. Like a a 3 or 4K Hello Robot might actually be a pretty compelling product, and there would be like reasonable margins for them, but then they would have to go figure out how to do, manufacturing at scale and probably spend more time in China and with some of these manufacturers. It's like just something that I don't know that a lot of researchers really want to do, or at least the Hello Robot team didn't really want to do it. Um, so yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's like maybe that was the issue with Pollen is like 70K for a Ricci was pretty expensive. Maybe like 20K would have been probably
But
more compelling price point.
I mean, in when was it? End of May. I've been invited to London to the Humanoid Summit, and Remy, Kaden, and the Hugging Face guys, together with Rob, they I mean, I think they, what is it, 3K? They have their own humanoid
Yeah,
now, right? And I think it's around 3K.
yeah, yeah. I saw it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I know. I actually, Remy and I used to sit next to each other. Well, we used to work on the same team at Tesla. We didn't sit next to each other. He was in France, and then he moved to the Bay Area. Then before, but he started on the FSD team. I was actually talking to him before Kscale about maybe doing something together, but yeah, I think he wanted to stay in France, which is great actually. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty excited for it. I think, well, okay. Generally speaking, my view is like the reason why we open source our stuff is because I don't think it's that hard to build a humanoid. I think more people should do it. And there's not like I think I would rather that a lot of people do try to go build their own humanoids. On top of that, I think like it'll be great if there's a large open source community of people that work on humanoids that can help make our robot better. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I would say generally though, there's a big jump from like, I mean, basically everything that Kscale has done for the last like year, more over a year, has been going from a 3D printed hobbyist robot to a like production grade robot. It's really hard. It's a lot of stuff to do. Um, and the margins are not so fair. An 8K, okay, our original bomb was about 8K. That same robot bomb would probably be about 5K today. But selling that thing for 4K is not possible. Like there's actually a lot of extra costs associated with it. And hardware is a risky like business. Like hardware, the difficult thing about hardware is like cash flow and inventorying and so um yeah, but I basically think that at the end of the day, like most people really just they want like the full like product ready thing, and so that's what we want to sell. Like I didn't want to kind of keep pursuing this like 3D printed open source one necessarily because we built it and it's like maybe we had a couple other people build it themselves, but it's 8K for something that can't really do anything. Like it's pretty expensive. So um even 3K for something that can't really do anything is also a little expensive. So we'll see. I mean,
So what's
but
because I mean, what's in um I mean, the year is halfway through, right? So what's in it for you, the guys? What's the goal for this year? What's the timeline?
Well, we're gonna sell robots. We have our robot. We're gonna launch it like probably next week, actually. We launched it before we kind of launched some stuff. It got a lot of people interested in buying it. 9K robot, it's pretty cool. So we've just kind of been refining the website and launch material so we can properly launch it. We'll probably launch it next week or like maybe the week after once we've got a good visuals. We have manufacturer in Dallas set up to build it. So we will, and they have a lot of money. They just bought like a $50 million factory to build robots and golf carts. So they're gonna build robots and golf carts, and we'll ship from Dallas. And yeah, I'm excited for people to be able to have a robot for a price that I think is more affordable than what else exists. Our goal really after that is just to like keep bringing the cost down. I would like to end next year with like a 5K full size humanoid, and the capabilities need to go up too. Like I would like to have, built-in full body local manipulation, and like speech to action model. That'd be really cool. So it's just a lot of stuff to build. But yeah, pretty excited.
I mean, there's a lot of numbers, and as you said, there's a lot of obstacles still need to be solved, or yeah, solved actually. But it's interesting that you're already looking for a number that is some sort of reasonable and have some sort of capabilities. Especially as you said, there's some big companies out there promising year after year that the next year will be definitely the year where they start shipping. Tomorrow
Yeah.
there's a big fair in Germany starting tomorrow in Munich. So this is the Automatica, and yeah, there will be some startups that are showing some stuff. I'm really excited to see a few people I really like and really looking forward to see. So this is definitely something I'm looking forward to. And if you say, you know what, wait 1 or 2 weeks, maybe three, then you will definitely see something from us. I'm keeping an eye out. So waiting for, you said not only rendering, right? You said that I will actually be able to buy it, right?
Yeah, we had put up a pre-order page, and the reason we put it up was I didn't know exactly how we would actually manufacture it. Now I know how we manufacture it. I know we'll be able to deliver it by October, at least November. So we're just gonna make it. You can just buy it. Yeah.
I think, yeah, then you will be able to deliver much faster and much more than the majority of humanoid companies out there. And as you said, you probably sold more than some of the bigger ones already.
Yes.
At the Humanoid Summit, there was someone from an market research company, and they said they did like intense research for like 2 years, and they could come up with the numbers of deployed sold humanoids, and it was less than
Pretty
15, I
sad.
think. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
it was
pretty
like
sad.
worldwide crazy, right? And especially if then with the number of humanoid companies and money raised. I'm very thankful that
Yeah.
you said yes to our chat. I'm happy to see that there's some people out there that are trying to bring robotics to the people and not only have big corporates being able to deploy them. One thing that I'm really curious about, and maybe you can say a few words about this. Bringing into homes is such a different topic than bringing them into manufacturing or logistics, right? Because there is people involved. There's some sort of security. There's a lot of sensors necessary. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. I guess basically my Kscale itself is basically I'm trying to execute on a very strongly held belief, and my strongly held belief is that the path for humanoid robots, I've increasingly started calling them personal robots because I think it will look a lot like the personal computer. So me going and building a humanoid robot that can do everything and then selling it as this black box system for a lot of money, it just is a bad idea. I think what the way that the tech will evolve is basically as a early adopter enthusiast person, will go buy a robot, and that robot will be not that capable. It'll, like G1 is not that capable, but like the people that have this kind of like vision of what the future looks like will just go and build it. And it's like it's something that every individual person that like was excited about this will kind of do collectively. Like a good example is like with the personal computer, the thing that really like the first like early adopters were buying this personal computer with like just a basic terminal on it to, do their friend's taxes or something, or like write a, recipe, collection of recipes or something. Like, and that just is like the way that tech evolves most of the time, I think, is like people using robots for themselves and figuring out how to make it useful for themselves. Like, for example, with the safety issue is like if I sell this thing as this fully capable thing and it is walking around your house, like it might hurt your dog or something, or like might hurt one of your kids. It's pretty bad. But like people that like giving people agency and this feeling that you are the one actually building the technology, which is the case, even whether or not you like it, like that lets you actually uh use it in the way that makes the most sense in your environment, figure out how to make it safe. Like I think it's just like tech evolves, technology evolves by like people building things to make their lives better, not by big corporations like selling you this cure-all thing. Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be a future where even like teleoperated robots are able to sort of magically do everything in your house. Like I think the power of just like distributed networks of like dorks and geeks just like trying out stuff in their own house is just like such a powerful force that like if you can actually tap into that, I think that that's the right way to just build the best product. That's kind of like what I very strongly believed about humanoids, and like because I know I'm that type of person. If I had a humanoid, I would go and do it and use it in my house. Like I want to be part of the like, a new technological revolution. I just don't want to be left out. Like, like if I was alive during the PC era, I would have bought a PC because I wouldn't want to like not be a part of this, thing. Like it's literally tech unfolding before your eyes, like before everyone else has realized it. So like, and then you just go and like do it, and you get to be part of it, and it's just really cool because that's like what it means to be human is like you're really moving, you know, you're moving things forward. It's like it's a very human activity to like try to make the world around you better for you and your family and the people in your community. Like, and so I don't think you can fight against that. And I think that that's like the only way to sort of get robots out into the world in a way that is safe and useful. Yeah.
I mean, there's a few examples. Maybe Notion being one of the simplest one. Having a platform, having a tool where you can actually build then things on your own that you then can bring back to the community to, okay, I figured this out for me, so maybe someone else need this. So kind of self-built verticals to things that had been provided by the platform can definitely enhance the, what the capabilities of what you can do with that. So I think this is one of the great things on open source, and I really like the idea that there's more people that like you that would like to use this for good and not only, being in the hands of corporates. Um, yeah, thanks for giving us all the insights, some funny insights as well, and looking forward to your new releases. I hope you will ping me so I can take advantage of that as well and amplify a
Cool.
bit of it. And say hi to your team, and maybe next time when I will be in San Francisco, I will say hi as well.
Yeah, definitely come by. Yeah, we all live together, so yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Take care and have a good day.
You too.